Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me today. My name is Elemi. I'm the clinical director at EY Behavioral Services. And just for a little bit of context at EY, we help parents and educators solve behavior challenges. Today, I'm really honored to be here because we're going to be talking about a topic that is very, very important. We'll start with a question. What if I told you that most of the behavior challenges that you are seeing in your classrooms, like the meltdowns, the tantrums, defiance, not following instructions, interruptions, are actually or have nothing to do with behavior at all? Right? And actually, let me ask you a couple of questions. How many of you here have been teaching close to or longer than a year? Awesome. Most of you, if not all. How many of you have noticed an increase in challenging behaviors like short attention span? Oh, we already see hands. Meltdowns, refusal to follow directions, defiance, all of it, right? Yep. Okay. So pretty much all of you. And this actually tracks with what we're seeing everywhere across the board, clinics, in homes, at other schools. We are seeing a rise in behavioral challenges in preschool and school-age kids. And I am sure that all of you have been there, maybe you're older kiddo teachers, where you are trying to get through a curriculum, lessons, like every time you start a new sentence, one of your students just has this need to talk about the dinosaur, or someone's grandma, or whatever they had at lunch last night or yesterday. It can be frustrating and exhausting to try to cater to every kid's needs when every kid's needs are different, right? So today, my goal is to help you walk into your classroom with more clarity, more calm, and more control, even when the behaviors feel like they can be very overwhelming. Today, we're gonna go over the most common classroom behaviors that we are seeing right now. We are going to go over the real reasons behind the increase in those behaviors and why traditional approaches are not really working. And we're going to also go through a simple framework that we can use in the moment when things get a little chaotic. By the end, I hope that you feel a little bit more equipped and supported in creating a safe and engaging learning environment where you can support both the academic part and the social emotional growth that comes with being in a preschool. Okay, does that sound good? Cool. Let's go into it. So the first thing to go over is actually to understand the problem. What is normal and what is not from what we're seeing? First, let's go over the most common classroom behavior challenges that we are seeing right now. Most kids today are showing signs of impulsive control, behavior, lack of self-control, emotional dysregulation, difficulty with social skills, increase in defiance or lack of cooperation. They don't want to do what you're telling them to do. Big reactions to seemingly small problems, hyperactivity, inattentiveness, and all of this, what that looks like in the classroom is actually not following your classroom rules, constant interruptions, not paying attention, fighting, pushing, hitting, taking the toy away, participating in a group but kind of like being disruptive or hurting others, not sharing, whining and crying when they actually have words. So how many of you actually have seen any of this? Yep. She's like, yes. So some of these behaviors are developmentally typical and appropriate within certain contexts. Now, when it's happening every day, disrupting your learning, disrupting peers, and disrupting your ability to teach them, that's actually not normal. If you have ever found yourself in a place in the middle of your classroom where you're like, oh my gosh, no matter what I do or say, this classroom or this kid is just complete chaos. It's not you. It's actually a sign that there is an excess in behavior challenges in the classroom. And this is so important to understand and identify because excesses in behavior challenges in the classroom are just very disruptive to everyone in the classroom. They actually decrease the quality of the educational process. So all of the time and effort that you guys are putting into your classrooms, your curriculums, your lessons, it goes out the door because children end up not learning as much when they are engaging in those behaviors. They also don't get as prepared as we all wish them to be prepared for their future. They also affect child development because they're not learning the social emotional skills that they need to learn. And on top of all of that, they reduce job satisfaction, making it much more stressful and harder for you guys as educators to show up here and feel like you're still making a positive impact in your students' lives. Sometimes it may even make you question if this is the right path for you, right? So all in all of these behavior excesses and challenges that we see in the classroom, they just create an overwhelmed classroom culture. Does that make sense? Like a compounding problem. So now that we understand what the common challenges are and that we know what to look for, it's equally important to understand why is this happening in the first place. Knowing where these increases in challenging behaviors are coming from help us identify effective strategies. This is particularly important if you have ever used common, widely used strategies like sticker charts and they all of a sudden are not working to motivate your kids, right? So, side note, I'm not advocating against any of the traditional strategies, I'm just saying sometimes they're not effective anymore, right? So I'll give you an example. I had a teacher tell me about a kiddo whose behavior very clearly was attention seeking. Everything he did to get a reaction. And as an intervention, they literally had the teacher and every adult in the classroom give this kid positive attention in an attempt that if I give it to you positively, I'm going to see less of it, right? Well, this teacher literally came to me and she was like, Elemi, I give him my attention all the time. He still wants more. Why is that? So let's break it down. The real reasons behind the increases in these behaviors and why traditional approaches are not really working for us. We are seeing 5 major contributors to the increases in these behaviors. The first one is extreme implementation of gentle parenting. I'm sure you guys all have seen it. These are the parents that don't want their kids to cry. I see all the heads in the room shaking. Gentle parenting really emphasizes emotional connection and understanding, which is great. We all want that and we love that. However, children are learning, and when they are learning, they need expectations and they need boundaries because they're kids. They're constantly testing those. Gentle parenting, when done too much, it actually leads to difficulty with boundaries because the boundaries get blurred when they're not clear and they're not consistent. It actually leads to a decrease in frustration tolerance as well because parents are constantly protecting their kids from experiencing frustration or experiencing negative emotions. So it becomes a lot harder for them to handle disappointment when they haven't had the opportunity to experience it throughout their day. Some of these kids are coming into your classrooms and it's literally the first time that they have heard no, or it's the first time that a boundary has been placed on them, or it's the first time that they have been corrected. They're literally coming into your classroom like that. Too much gentle parenting also leads to difficulty with group expectations, which is what you guys deal with here. This is related to the child's inability to follow the rules or follow expectations because they think that the rules don't apply to them. So there's always somebody rescuing them, not making them follow the rules. This is a real generational problem that we didn't have before. So this is coming into our classrooms now. Reason number 2 is developmental delays. We know that preschoolers are learning how to manage their big feelings and their big emotions. Their brains are not quite wired yet for impulse control or emotional regulation. That's normal. The problem is that newer generations are actually developing at slower rates, especially in the social emotional aspect because they live in a world of instant gratification. Their environments are inherently not designed to build social emotional skills. They're not getting as much practice as they used to build these skills. So we as adults, we have developmental milestones or expectations that we think are appropriate for a certain age that may actually not be appropriate given those increases in developmental delays. Now, reason number 3 is environmental changes. Kids today are growing up with more screen time. We know it. It's literally happening. It's a real thing. And is shaping and wiring their brain and structure differently. They're growing up with less outdoor play and often less face-to-face time connection with their parents and their caregivers. That means that they have fewer opportunities to learn how to cope, to learn how to problem solve, to learn how to interact. They're just, generally speaking, have less opportunities to practice. Reason number 4 is sensory overload. A lot of kids are walking into school, into your classrooms, already in fight or flight, already irritated. Their systems are overloaded. This has to do with everything that we just talked about for that sensory overload. And let's think about it. Let's walk through a scenario. They're on their tablets for longer periods of time that we would like to. And then comes the parent, takes the iPad away. They have a big emotional reaction because they have no skills to cope with that. Their cortisol levels spike. They just woke up 3 times and they just wake up in the morning. Mom is rushing them to school because she's going to be late to work. That is how they're actually coming into your classroom. Imagine that. You're just like this chaotic mess before they come in and then they give them to you, right? They're walking into your classroom irritable, already ready to give you chaos. This system is literally what these kids are operating with. This is actually how they are being hardwired. They're day in and day out. That's what it looks like. It's actually quite stressful to watch them consistently be like that. And reason number 5 is anxiety. Just generally speaking, a more anxious generation. They have more anxious models. We are protecting them more, not allowing them to feel frustration, not teaching them how to cope, so they're a little anxious. Now, here's a very, very important part and why I tell you all of this. What do all of these reasons combined tell us? They actually tell us that we don't have a behavior problem. We actually have a nervous system problem. A nervous system that is overwhelmed and underdeveloped, that actually needs nervous system solutions to be solved. Told you. They're really not giving anyone a hard time. They're having a hard time. And basically, these kids are walking around internally perceiving your instructions or their little friend playing with their toy or taking it away as a threat, the equivalent of a tiger in the wild trying to eat them. I mean, how wild is that? That their little nervous system is just thinking, you're gonna eat me. That's literally what they're thinking. And that is why we are seeing those behavior increases that we mentioned before, and why those traditional approaches are not working, because it's not a behavior problem, it's a nervous system problem. Now, the good news is that these behaviors can be managed and that there are real practical strategies that work, even in ratio, even in classrooms that are full. And that is exactly what we are going to go over next. This is where it gets practical for us, so let's do this. We're gonna break down the 3-step classroom response method. The 3 steps are regulate, communicate, and adjust, RCA. We're gonna walk through each one of the steps and go over some strategies. Step number 1, regulate. This step is actually about you before you even respond to the child. And actually, if there is anything that you remember at all from today, let it be this. A dysregulated adult cannot regulate a dysregulated child. When a child is screaming, refusing, melting down on your carpet, your own nervous system gets triggered. So now it's you who thinks that this child is a tiger in the wild trying to eat you. And you literally respond accordingly. Totally normal, it's totally human. Your brain thinks, oh no, this is getting out of control and I need to stop now. But if you respond from that place, the situation is more likely to get bigger, to get louder, and to get harder for you. Now, I'm not saying like the big emotional yelling. I'm sure nobody does that here of like, losing it. No, I'm talking about the internal feeling that you get of tension, of annoyance, that they're like not cleaning up when it's time to move on, when somebody is lining up, is what you feel inside when everything outside of you is going everywhere. The step number 1 is not about the child at all. It's actually about you grounding yourself in the moment so you can lead the situation instead of reacting to it. Now, how do we do that? The first strategy is to have a cue, right? The first strategy is to have a cue for yourself. A cue is something small that tells your brain, pause, I'm okay, and I can handle this. It can literally be anything. One slow, deep breath, planting your feet on the ground, squeezing a ball will work, relaxing your shoulders, saying something in your head that resonates to you. Or you can take a picture of this and put it on the wall, because I literally just watch you in an instant immediately go all at the same time. The point is, which I just made, is to grab your brain's attention in that moment, right? That is the hard part. But if you grab your brain's attention, like somehow with a picture like that on the wall, then it takes 3 seconds and it actually prepares you to respond better. So whatever it is for you that will make that reaction for your brain to pay attention. I think that's a pretty good idea. I know. They're cute. So the second strategy is for the regulate step is your calm is their calm. Kids read your body before they listen to your words. And I am sure all of you have heard this before. Nervous systems mirror each other. They do what the other one does. So your body is saying something, whether you're intending it to or not. It is actually saying something. If your face is overwhelmed, if your movements are fast, if your voice is sharp, then their nervous system is going to go into that threat mode. So in this step, what we want to do is send the opposite message. We want to say, you're safe, little dude. I got you. There's no tiger in this room. We want to show them with our body language that calmness. Now, what this looks like in practice is a soft tone, slower movements, a relaxed expression at a low and steady voice. Now, this doesn't mean that you're letting them go or that you're not setting boundaries or setting expectations. It just means that you are teaching safety before you get into the behavior. Because remember that we don't have a behavior problem, we have a nervous system problem. So we need to help them and their nervous system feel safe, not on high alert, in order for them to listen and actually learn in your classrooms. When you do this consistently, you will see that kids respond to your calm much more faster than they used to. And once you get these 2 strategies down, then we move to step number 2, which is communicate. This step is about what you say and how you say it. Most power struggles in the classroom don't necessarily happen because kids are defiant. They actually happen because instructions are too long, they're too emotional, they're repeated too many times. That one is the most often one. They're unclear, or they're delivered once everybody is already dysregulated. Step 2 really is about communicating expectations in a way that is simple, that is predictable, calm, and extremely clear. Now, how do we do that? First, say what you mean and mean what you say. Kids do best with short, simple, factual instructions and consistent follow through. And I know what some of you are thinking. You're probably thinking, Elemi, but my classroom has rules. We follow the same routine. We have schedules on the wall. It is very predictable. I don't know how else to make it clear what the routine is. What I want you guys to think about is less about the routines that you guys already have embedded, and actually think more about how those routines actually go. I'll give you an example. Say that your expectation for your classroom is for them to raise their hand before they talk during instruction, carpet time, at a table, whatever that is. But say that you have a kiddo who just says something and you respond. Do you think that kid is more or less likely to raise their hand in the future when they want to talk? Less. Of course, you responded without them having to raise their hand. Now, I'm not saying be a dictator here. I know that in the applied setting is different, right? You have your attention everywhere. But it's just an example, but keep this in mind and be very intentional with what you say and what you mean, because this is actually what's going to help you in the long run better manage your classroom and your classroom expectations when they know you will follow through with what you say. If that means for you that is less rules, but you actually stand by them more frequently, then let it have less rules, but stand by them more frequently. Now, this also includes nonverbal language, and I'll give you another example. I do need a volunteer to play kid for me. Anybody? Sure, come play the kid. So what I need you to do is come to me and tell me, Elami, I really want to tell you something. Like, you're a 4-year-old dying to tell me something.
Miss Elami, I really want to tell you something.
No, right now we're gonna line up.
Miss Elami,
right now
can I
we're
tell you
gonna line
something,
up.
please?
We're gonna line up.
Just
right now we have to
I
line
gotta
up.
tell you.
Right now we have to line up.
I have to tell you.
That's a really good kid. Wait, come here. We're gonna do the same thing.
Okay.
Do the same thing, but use no words, okay?
You don't say anything?
Don't say anything, just do the same thing like you're talking to me and you want to tell me the same thing, just don't use your actual vocalizations. Okay? Ready? Okay, you play great, kid. With no words, does it look like it, like to you guys that I was listening to him? When he wasn't using the words with our body language, did it look like I was listening to him or did it not?
You were trying to let him know what you wanted him to do instead of him trying to get your attention, what he wanted.
Maybe you didn't play a good kid. When the purpose is that if I am listening to him and I'm still telling him, it's time to line up, I'm not listening to you. It's time to line up, I'm not listening to you. What does this indicate to him? That I am what? Listening. Yes, that I am listening to him. Kids are gonna hear your body before they hear your words. So even though you are saying, even though I am telling him, like you guys observe, no, I'm not listening to you. No, I'm not listening to you. You guys listen to my words. Kids are not listening to their words. They're just listening to the language. So if I keep going like this, I'm just telling him, yeah, you got my attention, right? So very important, because my body signal that is listening, and that's probably happening in your classrooms. Children take all of those cues in. Again, they listen to your body before they listen to your words. So say what you mean and mean what you say is about making our expectations, our boundaries, and our communication clear with both our verbal and our nonverbal language. Make sense?
Hide that face.
Yeah. What is that called? Poker face or whatever that is these kids say. Yeah. Train it in the mirror, it works. Strategy number 2 for the communicate step is to use declarative language instead of directive language. Directive language tells kids what to do. Sit down, be quiet, stop running, clean up, don't do that, do this. Kids hear those as demands, right? Generally speaking, they're just going to be less likely to be receptive. Why? Again, because they perceive demands as threats because their nervous system is all out of whack. They're not used to this. Declarative language simply tells them what is happening. I am declaring a statement. We're sitting on the carpet right now. We are using quiet voices. We are walking inside right now. It's a subtle change in your choice of words, but it removes the pressure of a command, and instead it simply states the facts about reality, a reality they cannot compete with, they cannot negotiate with. It just is. Like, there's no negotiation to be had if I'm just telling you we're sitting right now. You're like, yeah, we're sitting. You know, it's collaborative, it's not confrontational, and it reduces resistance for that reason because it doesn't come as a command, something they perceive as a threat. And then we move into step number 3, which is adjust. This step is about what you do proactively to make it easier for your students to be able to meet your expectations. How do we help them succeed? Some of your kids want to do what you're asking. They just can't yet. They don't have the skills. Their nervous system is too overwhelmed. Their body is too activated. Their emotions are too big and their skills aren't developed. So in step 3, the question that we want to ask ourselves is this: how can I adjust the environment to help this child succeed? Not change the rule, not change the expectation, just shift the way that they get there. How? Here are a couple of strategies on how. The first one is use movement and sensory input. Some kids cannot regulate by sitting first, right? Their body needs to move before their brain can actually cooperate. Movement regulates the nervous system. You can try things like wall push-ups, crab walking to the carpet, jumping 5 times, carrying books across the room, or carrying something heavy. 30 seconds to 2 minutes of intentional movement can make a significant difference and can save you 20 to 30 minutes of complete chaos if you just give them that movement before. Before you have them sit for a long period of time, I highly recommend that you make sure you include some movement. This will make a difference in your classrooms. The second strategy for the adjust step is to make the environment work for the child. Sometimes it's not the child who needs to change, it's the environment around them. This can be like the actual physical environment of the classroom. You can ask yourself, do I need to rotate materials? Do we need more visuals? Do we need less visuals, which is often the case in classrooms? Do we need more open space? Could this transition be smoother in any kind of way? What are the things that I can change in the physical environment that will make it easier for those kids to do what I need them to do? It's the question that we want to ask. Another thing that you can do to change the environment is actually gamify it. This is a very successful strategy. Kids follow rules better when they're fun rules, don't we all? I like fun rules. So tiptoeing like sneaky animals, or being quiet like ninjas, or let's see who can move slowest to the carpet, right? Gamifying it really removes that resistance, and you can really gamify anything. It's about being creative. Kids love games. I mean, we all know this. So if you can just gamify anything, it will work in your favor. These small environmental shifts prevent a lot of those behavioral issues that we talked about. And as you can see, none of these strategies are actually about the child. They're about us changing our behavior so we can better support them in changing theirs. Because again, we just have a different generation. Things are changing for us. And with that is the 3-step classroom response method to help you manage behaviors when they happen. And just as a quick summary, the behaviors that you are seeing are signs of an overwhelmed, underdeveloped nervous system. It needs nervous system solutions in order for it to work. You are not dealing with defiance, you are dealing with brains who are literally in fight or flight mode for extended periods of time. And that shows in behavior. It does not look like an anxious kid. A 3-year-old is not going to come and tell you, I'm anxious. They're just act out. They melt down, they tantrum, they interrupt, they don't sit down. And you can make a big difference when you adjust your strategies to address not just the behavior, but actually the nervous system underneath that is driving the behavior, which is where we look at the top of the iceberg is the behaviors, but we see everything underneath is what we cannot see and what we have to actually address to reduce those behaviors. And that is it. Thank you for being here, and I would love to open it up for questions if you have any. Don't forget to subscribe and share this with a parent who may need to hear it. See you guys on the next one.